Housing is going up. Housing is expensive. And our message to the world normally is, well, we have high demand and limited supply, right? That's our message, right? We agree?
Yes.
I'm gonna be like my son's team. Yes, coach. Yes, yes. So I need you guys to participate, but I'm sure that's what you guys are telling your clients, right? And that's what I tell my clients. But we keep forgetting that inflation is going on too, which means that the price to build the houses is going up, and the price of labor and the price of materials are going up, and the tariffs are probably gonna change that within the next 6 months, a year, on top of everything else that's going on. So this might shock you. I did some research, and by the way, you have access to all the research I'm showing you, including the slides. But in 2022, the average cost to build a home is $392,000. See if we can get this right.
Yeah, man, okay. You got it.
Everything in reverse. So that might be showing up in reverse online, guys, but the number is 392,000 to build a house in 2022. Here's what's crazy. 2024, $428,000 to build a house. That's $40,000 increase, which is about 10% increase just to build a house. What does that mean? That means that the builders not have to, but they are rolling it towards their consumers. And a lot of what buyers think is that the builder is making the margin, but they're not unless they're charging more than the 10% difference. They're still, theoretically, if they went up 10% in 2 years in price point, they're still making the same margin. They're not making more because their expenses went up. So it's hard to point the finger at the builder because they're rolling the costs along. We talked about this with the HVAC companies as well. With the tariffs, they're expecting in the next 3 months prices to go up from 8,000 on average a unit to 12,000 on average a unit. 8 to 10 to 12 plus. So that's $2,000 to $4,000 more than today. So if you guys have clients that have old AC units, meaning original for 20 plus years, it's time to have that discussion. And you guys as consultants should be going down to your past clients and saying, maybe it's a good idea for you guys to change it now and get the lower price, or you can wait till it breaks, but you're going to probably pay $2,000 to $4,000 more for the same unit. But by that phone call or a simple text message to your client, you just added major value, regardless if they pull the trigger or not. You were the consultant adding value to their world, to someone that you haven't probably touched in a long time. Or you can even create an email and send them to all your clients to make it easy and call it a day, right? That's why the power to having a good database, theoretically a CRM to control it, is so important, because now you can one button hit them all, right? Of course, you don't want to use the CC where everybody sees each other. They want it to be authentic, but just an idea. So now's the time to work the business, guys. So cost is going up, long story short, and that's not just obviously not for HVACs and housing, it's for everything. There will be a lag because America still has a lot of stuff in storage, but when that runs out, in fact, they're already upping the prices. But again, expect a change in the next 3 months for HVAC company.
And just like the builders increasing, everyone, if you've received your email, you've got an increase on whether it's jeans or cars. I mean, I've got more emails from cars, beat the increase. Here's the new RAV4. But I made a mistake of buying one pair of Levi's online, and I've got at least 3 to 5 email a day on Levi's.
Now, thank you. Let's talk about two things on another higher level than our monthly stats. This price is sustainable. That's always the question. Is it going to go down? Is it going to go up? No one knows. But is it sustainable? And my answer usually is yes, it is, as long as California continues moving here, because our locals are already at the point where they may not be able to afford housing. And you can get that stat too. I think they have to make $120,000 as a couple or something like that, don't quote me on that one, to afford your average price point house or median price point house. I don't know if it's median or average. There's a big difference in the two numbers, and that's a lot. So just be aware of what's sustaining that market is a lot of California monies coming in. Now, our population is at 2.4 million people, and our average household is 2.6 members per household. We have 900,000 housing units. I don't know if this stat includes apartments, if it includes condos. I assume it at least includes condos, townhomes, and single families for housing units. But this is coming from applied analysis. They said there's 900,000 housing units, So if you do the math, it comes out to 930 houses needed for the 2.4 million population. So based on our population, if my math is correct, we already need more houses than there is, right? Somebody pull out your iPhone and pull out the calculator. Who's gonna volunteer? Thank you, Sonia. Tell me when your calculator's open.
I'm good.
Okay, 2.4 million.
Okay.
Divide by 2.6. The 93,000?
923,076.
I mean 900. Yeah, so you see 923,000 is based on these averages per household, how much houses or units are needed. And right now they're saying we have 900,000. So we're short 23,000 units just based on the simple math. Now, of course, it's not perfect, but at least it gives you some eyes on the ball. And based on that, I have how much permits they're pulling, which is 13.9 permits pulled in 2024. So let's do some simple math here. That means they're probably going to build about 14,000 homes in 2025 because 13.9 permits were pulled if everything were that simple, which it's not. And then in the future, they're expecting another 500,000 people in the next 10 to 15 years, which means that there's more people than the amount they're building at, which means that there's going to be a shortage of supply. That's what I'm trying to get at. And I can prove it by numbers. Of course, this again isn't perfect, but it's numbers from applied analysis. So if it's incorrect, I can blame them and they didn't come from me. I'm using their data, right? That's why I do all these disclosures when I talk. But it's just a different way of thinking. So, I can show you the way I do things, and by understanding all of it, it's easy to answer those hard questions. Is this sustainable? What's the future going to be like, right? If we use the data accordingly. This is the fun one here. So, driver license surrenders. That is how we can most accurately track incoming residents. Why is that not accurate?
Everybody.
Not everybody drives, nor has a license, especially kids. So it's not a true number. This is probably for adults that drive, so it's the only thing that we can really track by, except for when people register as taxpayers, but I guess they're not using that info, so they go by driver's license surrenders, which again is a skewed number because it doesn't include kids and people that don't drive, but it's something. And based on these, I'll give you guys a prize if you guys get it right, but I don't know anybody who's ever gotten it right. And you guys are realtors. I asked the property managers yesterday, so don't cheat if you're a property manager. If you get the top 4 states that have migrated to Nevada, I don't know, I'll buy you lunch. How about that? You guys should all take a shot because it's a free lunch. You can't, if you're wrong, it doesn't matter.
California, Florida, I think it's Utah, Arizona.
Close, but no cigar.
Is it Washington? Is one Washington?
Close, but no cigar.
Texas?
I think it's Texas.
Okay, I'm gonna start with Steve. What do you mean? Give me the 4.
Okay. California, Arizona, Texas. I'm gonna say, let's go Utah.
No cigar. Next.
I know I got 3.
Next. You guys are super close.
California, Texas,
Guys online, jump into
Arizona,
Maybe.
and Washington.
New York.
That's
super close, no cigar.
Oh,
It's
Hawaii.
You need to say
Idaho,
4.
Idaho.
You need to say 4, guys. 4.
California.
Hawaii, California, Texas, and Florida.
Super close, but I'm giving you guys hints because you have the states right pretty much. It's just a matter of combining them.
Combining them.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
New York.
No.
Nope.
New York. New York is actually the lowest out of the whatever it is, 10 or whatever.
I know Hawaii is 7th, right?
Anyone else that didn't go want to go? All right, I get
Maybe
that.
Utah instead of Arizona.
I said Utah.
Yeah.
We're throwing up the white
I
flag.
say Oregon.
Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
Nope, but it's on the list. So you guys are all pretty close. Like you guys are pretty in tune with the market. Who's ready for the answer?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, I think if I gave you top 5, you guys would have got it right. But I gave you top 4. It goes in this order: California, 33.8%. That means 1/3 of the people coming are coming from California. That is astronomically important to understand. Florida is next, 6.3%. That's a pretty big number. However, it's a false number. Well, not false, but it doesn't increase our population growth. Do you know why?
We have the same amount going out to Florida.
That's right. Steve, you sharp, man. So
It's my jam, man.
So 6.3% people coming from Florida and about the same going back to Florida. So it's an offset. All right, what's next? Texas, 5.2%. Arizona, 4.3%. Washington, 3.9%. I'll give you the whole list, why not? But that's the top four or five. Utah, 3%. Hawaii, right behind that, 2.9%. Illinois, 2.6%.
Hmm.
Colorado, 2.5%. New York, 2.2%. So let's add this up. 5, 9, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. You add up all of these states, California is still more.
Wow.
So where's everybody else coming from? Who knows?
Other
But
states that don't charge income tax, it's a lot easier for us as, residents to flow to those states and stay even Steven. That's why we're so attractive here. And the cost of living was incredibly, 10 years ago, couldn't beat it.
so, yeah, absolutely. It's not all financial reason, guys. What they're saying in California, though, is that we have somewhat of a similar improved climate than California does. And of course, the financials have a big deal about it. But for them, it's an easy commute, is the point. And with 33.8% coming from California of our population, they control our real estate market, really. As long as California still comes here, which is good or bad, eventually, in my opinion, prices will go up because of supply and demand. Simple. Not short term, no, your guess is as good as the person to the left and right as far as short term, but long term, I would bet huge that numbers are going to go up as long as California continues moving here. And I think they will until we equal their prices or get close to it. So is it sustainable? Yes, and that's why I think it's sustainable. And the permits have a lot to do with it because they're not building as fast as people are moving. And the other skewed number is 90% of Las Vegas is owned by our government, or not Las Vegas, Nevada. But as you know, a lot of it is commutes already or in the mountains, and they don't share that stat with you. So when the newspaper, in fact, the RJ put out an article today saying that Las Vegas is a problem because 90% of land is owned by Bureau of Land Management, they're not sharing that this is not Southern Nevada Central land, which is a huge piece of information that they're lacking. So to me, it's a false statement sending it to the public saying that they have all this land that they just aren't releasing, and thus we would have more housing because it's very limited what's in central Las Vegas. And so that number to me is super skewed and it's false information going out, or it's being perceived as incorrect information by the public, thinking that, so what? They have 90% more land to release. And they do.
I was
but
thinking that same thing. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was thinking as exactly what you just said. I thought the same thing. I'm like, there's no way. Like, because I know like BLM could be in the mountains and like you can't build houses out there.
Yeah, well, one is a commute. Two, the mountains is we're not allowed to build in it because of the wildlife reserve. But three, there's no infrastructure either. Somebody's going to have to put it in, right? I mean, we can get away with cesspools, but you still need power, you still need water. You can get away with wells, but is there water? So the long story short is that it's not what it seems like by stats. And that's why it's not just data. It's you guys, the consultant, interpreting the data into good information, which is what the public lacks. Because the public can get their hands on all the information I'm sharing with you guys, but it doesn't mean what it means until you understand what it really means. And like I said, that Review Journal article is such a false representation of what we're dealing with. But it's what sells, and people are going to read that article and be like, shit, I'm going to wait. We have so much more land, which is not true. We have land you're going to be commuting or unbuildable. All right, well, you guys get the point. I just get passionate about it because I don't like bad information. And guess who's reading these articles? It's your clients. And that's why they're not pulling the trigger to buy, because they don't know all the stuff we just talked about in the last 10 minutes. They think it's going to get cheaper, and it might. Is new builds going to get cheaper? Knowing now that you guys know it costs $440,000 to build an average house, maybe it'll take less margins, but I don't see the cost of building going down, right? Land is getting more expensive, materials is getting more expensive, labor is getting more expensive, so future housing is going to get more expensive. Whether the consumer pays the price or not is a different thing.
One
But
other factor that I read this morning, which will be real interesting. We don't have natural disasters like California, Florida, Texas. We don't have any of that. The insurance companies aren't insuring more and more locations, especially like in Texas and Florida. But if you can't insure your home or the money's not going to be there, I mean, I have friends that have rebuilt their homes 3 times in Galveston, and it's over now. So they're going to have to go somewhere, or they're not going to have insurance, and that's another thing. So maybe, but that will also push people to Nevada.
So insurance is a big problem, huge problem, and there's a lot of areas where, like Steve said, that is extremely high because of natural disaster, or they're not offering insurance at all. Boy, you guys know about this trend. California, it's happening in. And the high risk areas obviously are getting affected. Also, I found out is that if there's too much houses in a community that is covered by one carrier, they're going to cut off allowing more policies because they don't want all the liability. They want to diversify their portfolio. And guess what happens? If there's only like 3 major carriers today offering insurance, then chances are they're going to dominate the market. And chances are they might start cutting off communities because there's so much of their own policies within a community. So do the math on that. Coincidentally, well, not coincidentally, strategically, we put out a podcast 2 weeks ago about insurance. We brought an insurance expert, and that's what we talked about. So on the Xpand channel, my channel, you guys can educate your guys out. You can use it, share it, or make your own. It doesn't matter, but the message is there. And I'm not saying it's coming from the expert. I'm the one who plays dummy and asks all the questions, even if I know the answers, because consumers want to know. And that's how we add value. So insurance is another humongous factor. And the beautiful thing about Vegas is that we don't have too much natural disaster. We don't have hurricanes, we don't have tornadoes, we don't have tidal waves. We do have a little bit of earthquakes, but we do have the most expensive insurance in the nation for auto.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's because we have the most car accidents in the nation. It's that simple. Which leads to probably the most litigation in the nation. So think about letting your kids drive.
Yeah, right.
Get it right. Holy moly, I haven't heard that in a while. All right, let's jump into our stats. Any questions about all this stuff?
I was out in Richmond American. They had a grand opening last week, and it was in the Southwest. And I said, "Where's your sales office?" He says, "Oh," rep said, "No, we're not going to even build a sales office. These homes were selling so fast that we don't have to use a garage and convert. We're just using the house now." And he said, "Another thing we're doing, we're not building like one house here, one house. We just built the whole community." As they say, they took the most popular single story, 3 bedrooms and multi-gen homes and put it in this community. And they said, already got people on the wait list. They couldn't get into the other communities, but they wanted that model. So they took those models and they said that it's going to sell so fast. They expect to be done by June.
For what, multi-gen?
Multi-gen and it's all single story, but multi-gen and 3 bedrooms, 3 and 4 bedrooms. So again, not even a sales office. They just used one of the homes because they said it's going to sell out so fast, just based on their supply and demand of the last.
And where was that at?
Southwest side.
I'm actually surprised there's not more multi-gen homes here. I guess everything was more affordable, so it wasn't necessary.
They started noticing that.
Multi-gen and casitas is probably the most demanded product there is. Except
D.R. Horton has in Tule Springs, it's Heartland Manor. It's all single story, 3-car garage. They have a multi-gen and it starts in the low 7s.
We actually had a cancellation in there a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
Thank you for sharing, Carrie. You're welcome, Randy.
You're welcome. I put it on mute and I
Yeah, Randy, I like add a couple cents onto that multi-gen.
That's the timer.
Real fast. Because in Hawaii, I hate to bring up Hawaii and Vegas all the time, right? But in Hawaii, multi-gen was a thing that was happening for a while already. And that just as a result, because like you said, the population is outpacing the supply of homes. But we started noticing, David and I, like Richmond Americans started to offer multi-gen homes. We're noticing that more new builds are having multi-gen homes to accommodate the added pressure for the population. That's all, you know. And that's been happening in the last maybe like 5 years or so. Even I bought a multi-gen home from Woodside. So never had multi-gen homes like that about maybe 5-10 years ago.
You bought one for yourself?
The house I live in is a multi-gen home with a casita.
And what gen are you?
Gen X Plus.
Thank you, Daryl. I'm just having fun with you, like we always do. Cool, good combo, right? I think. Well, to my own horn, but I try to bring it, and hopefully this information helps you guys. So, doing the screen share. Oh, one more thing, insurance. So, insurance is a problem, and it also affects values. And if you can't get insurance, obviously it's going to affect value in a negative way, right? So, the other thing about insurance is claims. So be careful about your claims, because if you have too many claims, you're going to lose your insurance. And then the carriers that are willing to take it are going to charge you arm and a leg. So be careful what you claim with your insurance. I've seen people claim like $2,000 jobs. I'm like, whoa. You just don't understand how this is going to affect you in the future, right? Unless you didn't have the money right now, because you still pay a deductible, which is $500 to $1,000, which means they're only gaining an additional $1,000, and now they use the claim. The other thing we talked about in our management meeting is there's a water leak detection program out there in the Water Authority. So if you think there's a leak and you get a vendor registered with the Water Authority for leak detection, they fill out a form, and then the Water Authority pays them, which is a free service to you or the owner or your client. And then the second part is if there's a huge leak balance from a leak and then you did reactively fix it immediately, most of the time on your first claim, the Water Authority will meet you halfway and cut the bill in half. But again, don't use it unless you have to, or it's a big deal because you only get one chance at it, right? So you guys can figure that out. But anyways, those are, I thought, was pretty good shares too.
Yes.
Okay, go away. All right, there we go. I'm going to just use this one. All right, we're going to run through this. Median price point is $485,000. That is our market high. January hit our market high at the same amount, and we've maintained that 3 months in a row. April's number is gonna change. I will give you guys some insight. I don't know what it's going to be and which direction, because I haven't done the research this week, but I do know for a fact that our stats are gonna change. And again, it's been consistent for 3 months in a row, which is surprising. Like, I didn't think we'd last that long with a market high on the same number. So median price point, 485,000. Units sold has increased by 361 units, making it 2,142 units sold. So January got hotter, February got hotter, March got really hot, and now we're in April. We'll see where we're at. But what happened in April? Geopolitical change caused by the Trump administration with tariffs, causing the stock market to theoretically crash, reactively affecting interest rates and real estate. So it's very interesting what's going to happen in April. But I think what it did is put a lot of hesitation into the hottest market, because to me, April, May should be the hottest markets of ending of spring, but there's a lot of turmoil. So I think buyers, even sellers, are on the fence on what to do. And what was selling, I think it's getting harder as a listing agent. And as a buyer, I know it's getting harder because the buyers are like, I don't know what to do. Interest rates went up from 6.5 to 7.2. Damn, I missed the window. You know, things are still expensive, right?
Because it may get a lot worse.
That's the thing. You may not know.
This is more psychological than anything.
It is.
I mean, I feel for you if you lost money. I lost money, but it's more psychological.
So I'm gonna skip through some of these numbers, but new listings went out 541 units, making it 3,340. And then units available went up by 187 units, making it 5,416 units available. But what's interesting is that month supply went down, even though new listings and units available went up. Month supply is down to 2.5. which is down 0.4% from month prior, which is up over 50% year over year. 2.5 should be a seller's market in Las Vegas based on history. But is it really because of all the change we just talked about? And buyers not pulling the trigger or canceling escrows. There's a lot of canceled escrows this month. And a lot of the people that I talk to in my personal experience are changing their mind because of, I'm not sure about the financial volatility and I'm feeling conservative right now. So either you're canceling or they're holding off buying or changing buying in its entirety. I personally have clients who have told me that in the last 2 weeks. So we can talk about how you guys feel and what your guys' experiences is with your clients, but that's my personal experience. On the condo market, units sold went up. So it's been same trend, January, more February, more March. Sales, 570 units sold. Median price point is at a high at 306.5. That's up 3,500 from the month prior, up 8.5% year over year. New listings went up by about 100 new listings, and then units available went up by 180 listings to 2,200 units available. But look at the month supply, which is the opposite as single family. Am I on the wrong month? No, it's March. I don't know why my numbers are wrong on this one, but well, 3.9 supply is still a high amount of units for condos and townhomes.
What's the average normally?
I tell people a balanced market is about a 3-month supply, but it bounces all around. And condos usually on a good market have a higher month supply, and the reason is that a lot of investors own condos, and when the market's on the higher side, they tend to cash out. And so that's why, in my opinion, there's a lot more condos on the market. Investors are selling. They're also buying, but a lot are selling. And if you guys have been in this industry for quite a while, sold to investors, you're probably seeing the same thing. Your owners are probably reaching out to you, asking you if it's a good time to sell. And the answer is it depends. Right now we're at a market high. It's a sure thing that you're probably going to get a good return. Short term, volatile. Long term, you're probably going to get more. So it really depends. Are you in it for the short run, medium run, long run? And that would determine the general answer. But because I don't want to get too deep into just the numbers and have more of the overall perspective, I'm going to stop the slide. So that's where we are. How do you guys feel? What do you guys see? Has it been tougher out there? Has it been easier out there?
Never been tougher, really. I mean, I've got one house that's 8 months on the market, and I've never had that happen, ever.
I think it's hard right now, like you said, on both sides. It's super hard on the buyer side, super hard on the seller side, which means that realtors have more challenges than normal. And so I'm with Steve. I think it's a harder market. On the flip side, it's spring, and second quarter is where the money's at if you're a realtor, or that's when the transactions happen, is why. And second quarter is really, really where usually you're flipping your hat to hopefully transactional focus, listings, buyers, all that stuff. Whereas the winter months, holiday months, were more like follow-ups and reaching out and value adds and all of that. January picks up, spring hits, and now all the talks and conversations you've had become actual action, which again is usually buyers in the market and sellers listing. And so normally in Vegas, this is the time that transactions happen more than any other time, second quarter. So, for us, best thing I would tell you guys is change your patterns if you're still in the holiday mode to let's get the message out there to your clients on where they're at. Because if they're going to make a move, depending on what side of the fence they are, this is probably the time to make a move, or at least have that discussion. And you'd be surprised how much people are thinking about things and not telling you about it. And hopefully they come back to you when they do tell you about it. I know this to be true because I sent the market update video that I made to a couple random people, or I put them on a auto price program that gives them valuations. Funny you did that. I was just thinking if it's a good time to sell. I was just thinking about relocating, and you never know unless you stay in front of your people. And hopefully you do, because someone else will. Rentals, investors, we're still number one in the country for investment. Rentals have been challenging. They've been sitting a little longer than normal as well. I mean, we just talked about this in our management meeting. And condos have been hard to rent, right, Linda?
A lot slower now, sitting longer.
Condos in particular have been harder to rent. And I think a lot has to do with there's high inventory right now until it disappears.
Quality of applicants also. Yeah, not qualified.
Quality of applicants have kind of been a challenge as well. I've seen that trend. A lot of fraudulent applicants. We've seen that trend.